Hey everyone, my name is Hamaji and today we're going to be taking a look at the Womier K87 mechanical keyboard. Now I got sent this from Womier themselves and it looked really interesting, so I wanted to take a look at it for myself. So my first impressions when unboxing the keyboard was pretty good. I thought it would feel cheaper in the hands, but honestly it felt like a really premium product. It comes in this pretty minimal box and is protected with some foam, and also comes with a detachable white USB-C cable, a cleaning brush for your keyboard, as well as a plastic and metal switch puller. It's nice to know that they understand that we may want to change the switches in the future, so it's a really nice inclusion. They're also pricing the keyboard at around $90 US, which to me does make a lot of sense. So the keyboard can actually come with a variety of switches. You have the Gateron blacks, blues, browns, reds, and yellows. Now I got sent the Gateron blues, and that's not because I asked for them, it's because I forgot to specify which type I wanted, so shit. The keyboard is 10 keyless, which I personally really like, but it is pretty big. It measures in at 14 by 37 centimeters, which is 10 centimeters shorter than the Black Widow V2 and 8 centimeters longer than the Huntsman Mini. So if you don't have much space on your desk, you may want to consider how much space this will end up taking. But with the inclusion of dedicated arrow and function keys, I'd say that the extra space it takes up is very worth it. So despite the size, the keyboard itself is fairly light, and that's because it's made of a material called PMMA plexiglass, also known as frosted acrylic. So the frosted acrylic allows for this really nice, clean, translucent finish, which really helps to make the RGB and underglow pop out, way more than any other keyboard I've ever owned. The case itself consists of 3 layers that are screwed together. There's a bottom layer with some rubber feet to provide an incline, a middle layer that surrounds the PCB. It's pretty flexible and really fragile, so you definitely don't want to let this snap when handling it, and a top layer which also acts as the actual plate the switches are mounted onto. So the overall build quality of these layers is pretty good, honestly. There is a bit of a noticeable flex when force is applied, as the layers are made of acrylic and will be just a tiny bit flexible. Aesthetically, I really like the overall look of the keyboard. The RGB looks incredible with the frosted acrylic, and the bezels are also not too thick nor too thin. I think that they found a really nice in-between for the bezels on this keyboard. The edges are also really fine and smooth to the touch, and nothing about it feels like it was cheaply manufactured, and it has a really good finish. The Keycaps design is honestly really clean and I really like it. It doesn't have that typical gamer font and instead it uses a very nice minimalistic font. These keycaps are made of PBT and are 2-color molded. It isn't the same as double shot molding and is made pretty obvious by how thin the keycaps are in comparison to a GamaKay keycap, making them have less of that thock sound we all love so much. However, because it is made of PBT, the keycaps will be much more durable than ABS keycaps. Okay, so after using this keyboard for just a few hours, the first thing I really noticed was the incline, or lack thereof. The keyboard does come with rubber feet, but it isn't adjustable, and that normally isn't a problem, but the lack of an incline on this keyboard makes it really uncomfortable to use. People who are used to keeping their hands elevated shouldn't really have a problem, but for a peasant like me that don't usually keep their hands elevated will have a tough time. The one thing that has helped me to use this keyboard is a wrist rest. It makes the typing experience a lot more enjoyable and it really reduces the awkwardness of the typing angle. The keyboard's PBC allows for 87 keys and is completely hot swappable. The USB port is also located at the right side of the keyboard. So this keyboard has individually lit RGB keys and a separate backlight section that illuminates the area around the keys. And honestly, the RGB is really impressive. You can cycle through a lot of options by holding FN and then pressing other keys. It's a little awkward at first, but you get used to it pretty soon. There's a huge variety, but my personal favorite is this light blue and peach color combo. I think it looks really nice. Alright, so let's move on to how the keyboard sounds. As of right now, the keyboard can only be described as subpar.
Subscribe to Hamaji Neo.
Again, I am using the Cherry MX Blues, which makes it pretty unbearable to listen to as it is, but it doesn't help that the stabilizers are also really rattly. Even if you were to select another set of switches, I do think that this keyboard would not be worth using as is. You definitely need to make some adjustments yourself. And that's exactly what I did. So for the upgrade, I'm going to be using some NovelKey Creams. I just purchased these switches a few days ago and I was really excited to try them out, so I seized the opportunity. NovelKey Creams unlubed are really scratchy, so we definitely have to start off by removing those imperfections. I start off by firstly separating the switches into 4 parts: the housing, the spring, the stem, and the top housing. Naturally, this can take quite a while, and I highly recommend that you use a switch opener for this process, as it can be really difficult without one. And you can clearly see me slowly dying of boredom as I separate these switches. So after separating the switches into 4 parts, I then laid them out onto the KBD Fans lube station. For today's video, I'm going to be using Krytox 205 Grade 0 lube. It's a pretty thick lube, so we need to make sure that we apply it minimally, unless you want your keyboard to sound like this. The first thing I normally do is bag lube the springs. If you're not familiar with how to do it, all you really have to do is put all the springs into a plastic bag or container, then apply a generous amount of lube and shake. I tend to shake for a minute or longer just to make sure that the springs are really evenly coated. I then lube the housing, the stem, as well as the top housing. If you guys want a proper guide on how to lube your switches, I'll be sure to link some in the description below. So with the switches complete, let's move back to the keyboard. The first thing I had to do was remove all the existing switches on the keyboard, and then throw them in the trash. Okay, let's move on to fixing the stabilizers. These stabilizers by default are extremely rattly and make a lot of noise when used. I started off by removing them from the board and completely dismantling them. After dismantling the stabilizers, I found that the stabilizers still had a claw that had yet to be clipped and absolutely no lube on the wires. So I clipped all of the claws on all the stabilizers and lubed the plastic housings as well as the wire itself. For stabilizers, I always use dielectric grease, as it really effectively eliminates any scratchiness or imperfections. After that, we have to work on band-aiding the plate. I unfortunately don't have any strong see-through tape or white tape to make it look more aesthetic, so I had to use blue duct tape. It looks pretty terrible right now, but honestly, after you put the keycaps on, it's pretty hard to notice these. The duct tape helped to remove a lot of unnecessary movement made by the stabilizers when pressing down on them. And this process is really a trial and error thing. Sometimes even after applying one layer, the stabilizers will still move a little, and you just have to be patient and keep trying. But after setting all of that up, it was time to put the stabilizers back into the keyboard, and with that, our little upgrade was complete. And now for a sound test.
Subscribe to Hamaji Neo.
Okay, so I'm really happy with the end product. I think the NovelKey Creams works really well with this keyboard and it just sounds really good. Like really good. Okay, so with all of that said, would I recommend getting the Womier K87? I know you're gonna hate me for this, but it really depends. It depends on whether or not you're into custom keyboards or if you just want a keyboard. If you're a normal human being and just want a keyboard to use, then there's a lot of other better keyboards at the same price point with, you know, media keys, a better case, maybe more RGB flexibility, and maybe a ton of other features. But if you're a crazy person like me and enjoy customizing keyboards and upgrading them, this is a great budget option. The RGB is amazing, the case is really simple, and it's easy to work with, and plus the end product can sound amazing if you do it right. If you're into stock keyboards, stay away. If you're into custom keyboards, then this is a great budget option, especially if you're a beginner. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do consider subscribing. If you want to support my channel, you can support me on Patreon or join my Discord. We have a new keyboard section where all of us keyboard freaks can talk about what we truly love. You can also feel free to follow me on Twitter, and that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.